Well, hello everyone. Wilson Cole with Adams, Evans, and Ross and Backdoor Hiring Solutions, and I am joined by our General Counsel, lead attorney, and my lovely daughter Samantha. Samantha, how are you doing?
I am doing great, or as great as I can be on a rainy Monday.
I understand. I understand. I haven't been outside. Is it raining?
I don't know if it's raining up there, but it's been off and on down here.
See, for the most part, I work remotely, and for whatever it's worth, glare just gives me can give me migraines if I'm not wearing glasses and all that. So my office purposely does not have any outside windows, which it is what it is. So which is almost, it's kind of like I'm going with the Vegas rules. I really never know what time it is. Way off topic, but now, I have preached for 27 years. When you get your fee agreement, if you're a recruiter signed, or if you're doing staffing and you're doing temporary, getting a credit application signed, for a number of reasons. One is, if you're doing staffing, you need the credit information, but also it's a neat way to bury in some safeguards that protect you. Which, as we've talked, and Sam and I just did a webinar on the 7 deadly mistakes. We also do I think our webinar next quarter is actually how to turn your credit application into a credit contract. So there's some things that you can bury, because there's a lot of times that is the only time that they're going to sign off on an agreement that has those safeguards, like they agree to pay reasonable attorney and or collection fees. If you want to become a secured creditor, there's some special wording that you can put in there that allows you to file a UCC-1. You can put the jurisdictional clauses in there. You can put late fees, interest, all of that. So those are the good sides of putting those things into your contract. And those are the kind of things that we want you to put into the contract. And we did something not too long ago, but this is kind of an extension of that, is if you put in stuff into your contract that just sounds really legal and really good, sometimes you can, in essence, put a time bomb that is going to totally screw you over on your own contract. And Sam, kind of pick it up from there on some of the stuff that we've seen recently that I'm shocked. And this is kind of a newer phenomena of where people are just putting some really bad stuff in their own contracts.
Well, and I'm not necessarily how it ends up playing out, yes, is awful. I think the intent was good. I've seen where you've got clauses regarding indemnification. If you're a staffing firm, that's fantastic. You don't want to, have everybody indemnify everybody so that nobody can go after if an employee screws up, everybody's protected. However, make sure that it's mutual. It's kind of like releases. I always make sure any releases that are signed through collections, everybody walks away mutually from disputes, because you don't want to run into a situation where you put in something, if you copied it out of some contract or you Googled, and it only creates liability for you and not the other party. Because I have seen some recently where it's very much a heads I win, tails you lose sort of situation of nobody ends up coming out ahead, or the client is completely screwed. And kind of an addendum to that is, if you're in negotiations and you've got your standard fee agreement that you send out to everybody, and somebody, your client comes back and goes, hey, this is great, but can we change it to a 9-month possessory period? Or can we change whatever that negotiation is? Make sure that you read all the way through and you make that change from the top of the contract to the very teeny tiny bottom of that contract, because we've run into some where there's contradictions throughout it. And then also, if it's your contract, any contradiction falls against you in a lot of jurisdictions, unless you can have documentation that everybody was on the same page and it was a genuine mistake.
And the thing is that you just touched, which is key. If they're negotiating down the possessory period, or the clients, going down from 12 months to 9, and you agree to it, and you forget to put the 12 or remove the 12-month one, okay, that's going to cut against you. It's going to be 9 months. But if the intention, let's say, is reverse to where you're wanting to go from a 12-month presentation to a 12-month of last discussion, if you say in column 2 or in clause 2 that it's the last presentation, but somewhere buried in there it says from first presentation, you just, that last clause, because there's some conflict there, if it's your contract, counts against you. And you just pretty much negated yourself out of that first one, or you certainly have built a higher bar for you to cross over. I mean, and this is one thing, we're fortunate to where we've always, we have Sam working, which is our general counsel, and Sam doesn't work for free. So attorneys are always more expensive than you would think. But I've always had attorneys involved in the company, and I've always had attorneys involved with contracts, because the $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 that it may cost to have them form that contract saves tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Because this situation example where somebody goes out and they Google a contract, Google was your attorney. Okay, it just cost you a $36,000 fee, versus had you spent a couple of grand to have an attorney write it, that would have been the best $2,000 you could have spent. So hiring a competent attorney.
Yeah, and even with our vault, yes, it was drawn up by an attorney. However, it is so broad because it's an educational resource for 50 states plus other parts of the world, that it can't meet every requirement. That there may be something in a locality where you're located or where your debtor's located that I can't predict, or things along those lines. So even using something that comes from, whether it be us or some other staffing and recruiting resource, have it double checked by a business attorney locally, just to make sure there's not something there that, I don't know that, Florida has a rule about X and you have to include that, or because it changes from jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Yeah. Well, we just, as I'm working remotely, this is the perfect point. You can come on in, Lee. Everybody's already seen you. We're filming. We're filming this issue of this. So my darling bride was bringing me something down. So she is now slithering. Love you, baby.
Hi,
Mom. But anyway, I agree with you 100% on that. So, but having, and what Sam's talking about is the vault, which all clients have access to, because there are clients, is an agreement, kind of a best practices agreement. If you don't have it, I recommend that you do get a copy. Send me a request. Wilson, put in the parentheses, hey, Wilson, send me the link to the vault. Wilson at AER Collections. You can do the same thing for Samantha at AERcollections.com. But as far as on that, it is very broad, and use it as it's better than not using anything. But understand, each state is uniquely different on different things, because what's true in California may not be true in Florida, and so forth and so on. And you always have those wild card states. Perfect example. You can have the best, absolute best contract that you can create by a New Jersey attorney and all of that good stuff. But if you're not registered, licensed, now I'm not saying corporately, I'm saying if you are not registered as a staffing or recruiting firm in the state of New Jersey, which is about a $200 additional fee, you can't use their court system. So it doesn't matter how good your contract is. There's nuances in each state with any of the laws. But the biggest thing is, I think, in my opinion, from a business standpoint, what most of our clients are getting into trouble with prior to them becoming our clients is they've either tried to be cheap or they've tried to overthink it, and they're putting in stuff that's biting them in the butt. So any closing arguments?
I think it's just, my love of Friends, and one of my favorite episodes is where Joey's writing a letter to somebody and uses a thesaurus on every word, and it ends up just skewing the meaning. And so I feel like you just need to take that scene, and if you're using your contract, don't try to use a thesaurus or put in legal words throughout, because you don't, one, if you don't know what they mean, you may not know what their outcome is. And you also may not know how they relate to each other. And then all of a sudden you're left holding, a liability for your client.
At 100%, you've wound up creating a time bomb. And any time that the word indemnify, understand that is a powerful legal word, and you really need to have that looked at by an attorney. And also you need to make sure that if you're indemnifying anybody, that you also have the insurance to back that up. So with that being said, Sam, I appreciate, as always, joining us. And, if any closing arguments or any closing points on that? Well, we'll see you next week, Sam. And as always, I appreciate you joining me.
Anytime.